तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभयेव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। Hare Krishna. So, we have discussed in verse number 31 and we have discussed how Shukadeva Goswami have described two types of Ashtanga yogis, detached and attached. The detached yogi straight away meditate on the super soul and they get impersonal liberation, and attached yogi they go for meditating on the Virat Trup and they go for a Krama Mukti, and how gradually they give up their subtle body and they are liberated. Okay. Now the verse number 32. Eta satitite nipaveda gite.
Your Majesty, my respected, know that all that I have described in reply to your proper inquiry is just according to the version of the Vedas, and it is eternal truth. This was described personally by Lord Krishna unto Brahma, with whom the Lord was satisfied upon being properly worshipped.
Yeah. So it's very important to quote the evidences, you know. We see in Bhagavad Gita also, in 13th chapter, Lord Krishna quotes evidences. You know. This has been told by many rishis. So similarly, as a preacher, when we are quoting something, we should quote evidences. So Shukadeva Goswami has described this and they say, this has been told by Krishna to Brahma. When Brahma satisfied Krishna, then this was revealed to him. Okay. So in the purport, like yesterday also we discussed, there is a Vedas and there is a science. So we have to accept some authority. So better to have faith in the Vedic knowledge. Okay. Then Shukadeva Goswami says, Nahi atto anya shiva pantha Vishta sansrita viha Vasudeve bhagavati bhakti yogo yato bhavet. Yes, please.
For those who are wandering in the material universe, there is no more auspicious means of deliverance than what is aimed at in the direct devotional service to Krishna.
So now again he is establishing the supremacy of sadhana bhakti. That for those who are wandering in this material universe, nahi attanyo shiva pantha vishte sansrita viha. Those who are wandering in this sansrita, in this sansar, there is no auspicious path than the Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yogo Yato Bhavet. Okay, so that's how he is clarifying. Okay. So now Shukadeva Goswami is establishing the best sadhana is bhakti and the sadhya is prem. It's not Ashtanga Yoga and impersonal liberation, but this sadhana bhakti and the sadhya is prem. Okay. So in the last paragraph, Srila Sridhar Swami and all other acharyas like Jiva Goswami agree that bhakti yoga is not only simple, easy, natural and free from trouble, but is the only source of happiness for the human being. Savai punsopara dharma yatha bhakti adhokshaje ahetugi pritihata yayatma su prasiddhati. Okay. So how is that? Again, it may sound very dogmatic because Shukadeva Goswami is a devotee, Parikshit Maharaj is a devotee. Again, they are forcing that bhakti is the best. Okay. Again, he'll quote the evidence. Bhagwan Brahma Karsneya Vrin Anvikshya Manishaya Tad Adhavasyat Kutu Kutastho Ratir Atmanyato Bhavet. Yes, please. Someone read.
The great personality Brahma, with great attention and concentration of the mind, studied the Vedas 3 times, and after scrutinizingly examining them, he ascertained that attraction for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, is the highest perfection of religion.
Okay, so I'm not just saying like that bhakti is the supermost process. Brahma is the most perfectly living being. He has studied the Vedas scrutinizingly 3 times, and then he has concluded that Ratir Atmano Yato Bhavet Tad Adhyavasyat Kutastho Ratir Atman Yato Bhavet. How he reached this conclusion? Tin Anvikshya Manishya. He is the most intelligent person. He has scrutinizingly studied, contemplating on the Vedas 3 times and reached this conclusion. So that's why we are saying that bhakti is the topmost sadhana and prem is the topmost sadhya. Now, if devotional service is supreme, so but how do we understand the God exists? A normal person cannot see the God. So normal, in the material world, just people want to get liberated. They want to have relief from their miseries. So if God exists, we have to love God. How to know that? So Sukadeva Goswami is very scientifically explaining. Bhagavan sarva bhuteshu lakshita swatmana hari drishyer buddhi adibhi drishta lakshanai anumapake. Okay, please.
The personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, is in every living being along with the individual soul, and this fact is perceived and hypothesized in our acts of seeing and taking help from the intelligence.
Okay. So how we can perceive the presence of God, presence of soul and super soul in us? By perception, by inference, by logic also we can understand. So Prabhupada is giving a very nice detailed purport, and this purport is Prabhupada is taking from the commentary of Srila Jiva Goswami. So, and Prabhupada is establishing, Jiva Goswami is also establishing how a common man using his logic and intelligence can infer that I am not this body, I am the soul, and over the soul is the super soul, and above the soul and super soul is Krishna. So this purport will establish that. So we'll try to understand this purport. Someone can read the purport? Mike.
The general argument of the common man is that since Lord is not visible to our eyes, how can one either surrender unto Him or render transcendental loving service unto Him? To such a common man, here is a practical suggestion given by Srila Sukadeva Goswami as to how one can practice the perceive the Supreme Lord by reason and perception. Actually, the Lord is not perceivable by our present materialized senses. But when one is convinced of the presence of Lord by a practical service attitude, there is a revelation by the Lord's mercy, and such a pure devotee of the Lord can perceive the Lord's presence always and everywhere. He can perceive that intelligence is the form direction of the Paramatma plenary portion of the personality of Godhead. The presence of Paramatma in everyone's company is not very difficult to realize, even for the common man. The procedure is as follows. One can perceive one's self-identification and feel positively that he exists. He may not feel it very abruptly, but by using a little intelligence, he can feel that he is not the body. He can feel that the hand, the legs, the head, the hair, and the limbs are all his bodily parts and parcel. But as such, the hand, the legs, the head, etc., cannot be identified with his self. Therefore, just by using intelligence, he can distinguish and separate his self from other things that he sees. So, the natural conclusion is that the living beings, either man or beast, is the seer, and he sees besides himself all other things. So, there is a difference between the seer and the seen. Now, by little use of intelligence, we can also readily agree that the living being who sees the things beyond himself by ordinary vision has no power to see or to move independently. All our ordinary actions and perceptions depend on various forms of energy supplied to us by nature in various combinations. Our senses of perception and of action, that is to say, our five perceptive senses of hearing, touch, sight, taste, and smell, as well as our five senses of action, namely hands, legs, speech, evacuation organs, and reproductive organs, and also our three subtle senses, namely mind, intelligence, and false ego. 13 senses in all are supplied to us by various arrangements of gross or subtle forms of natural energy. And it is equally evident that our object of perception are nothing but the products of inexhaustible permutation and combination of forms taken by natural energy. As this conclusively proves that ordinary living beings has no independent power of perception or of motion, and as we undoubtedly feel our existence being conditioned by nature's energy, we conclude that he who sees is spirit, and that the senses as well as the objects of perception are material. The spiritual quality of the seer is manifest in our dissatisfaction with limited state of material conditioned existence. That is the difference between spirit and matter. There are some less intelligent arguments that matter develops the power of seeing and moving as a certain organic development. But such an argument cannot be accepted because there is no experimental evidence that matter has anywhere produced a living entity. Trust no future, however pleasant. Idle talks regarding future development of matter into spirit are actually foolish because no matter has ever developed the power of seeing or moving in any part of the world. Therefore, it is definite that matter and spirit are two different identities. And this conclusion is arrived at by the use of intelligence. Now we come to the point that the things which are seen by a little use of intelligence cannot be animated unless we accept someone as the user of or director of the intelligence. Intelligence gives one direction like some higher authority, and the living beings cannot see or move or eat or do anything without the use of intelligence. When one fails to take advantage of intelligence, he becomes a deranged man, and so a living being is dependent on intelligence or the direction of a superior being. Such intelligence is all pervading. Every living being has his intelligence, and this intelligence, being the direction of some higher authority, is just like a father given direction to his son. The higher authority, who is present and residing within everyone individual living beings, is the supercell.
So very scientifically, just for a common man who doesn't believe in the existence of the soul, super soul, just by common sense and logic, Srila Prabhupada is proving that there is a spirit beyond matter, and the spirit is being guided by super spirit, super soul. Next.
At this point in our investigation, we may consider the following question. On the one hand, we realize that all our perceptions and activities are conditioned by arrangements of material nature. Yet, we also ordinarily feel and say, I am perceiving, or I am doing. Therefore, we can say that our material senses of perception and action are moving because we are identifying the self with the material body, and that the superior principle of super soul is guiding and supplying us according to our desires. By taking advantage of the guidance of super self in the form of intelligence, we can either continue to study and to put into practice our conclusion that I am not this body, or we can choose to remain in the false material identification, fancying ourselves to be the possessors and doers. Our freedom consists of orienting our desires either toward the ignorant material conceptions or the true spiritual conception. We can easily attain to the true spiritual conception by recognizing the super soul, Paramatma, to be our friend and guide by doubling our intelligence with the superior intelligence of Paramatma. The super self and the individual self are both spirit, and therefore the super self and the individual self are both qualitatively one and distinct from matter. But the super self and the individual self cannot be an equal level because super self gives direction to the direction or supplies intelligence, and the individual self follows the direction, and thus action are performed properly. The individual is completely dependent on the direction of super self because in every steps the individual self follows the direction of super self in the matter of seeing, hearing, thinking, feeling, willing, and etc. So far as common sense is concerned, we come to the conclusion that there are three identities, namely matter, spirit, and super spirit. Now, if we go to the Bhagavad Gita or the Vedic intelligence, we can further understand that all three identities, namely matter, individual spirit, and the super spirit, are all dependent on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The super self is a partial representation or plenary portion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Bhagavad Gita affirms that the Supreme Personality of Godhead dominates all over the material world by his partial representation only. God is great, and he cannot be simply an order supplier of the individual selves. Therefore, the super self cannot be full representation of the Supreme Self, Purushottam, the absolute personality of Godhead. Realization of the super self by the individual self is the beginning of self-realization. And by the progress of such self-realization, one is able to realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead by intelligence, by the help of authorized scriptures, and principally by the grace of Lord. The Bhagavad Gita is the preliminary conception of personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. And Srimad Bhagavatam is the further explanation of the science of Godhead. So, if we stick to our determination and pray for the mercy of director of intelligence sitting within the same bodily tree, like a bird sitting with another bird, as explained in the Upanishads, certainly the purport of revealed information in the Vedas become clear to our vision. And there is no difficulty to realizing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva. The intelligent man, therefore, after many births of such use of intelligence, surrenders himself at the lotus feet of Vasudeva, as confirmed by the Bhagavad Gita 7.19.
Yeah. So by use of intelligence and logic, we can conclude that there is a matter, there is a soul, there is a super soul, and then there is a Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay. So if you have concluded this, then he gives a conclusion. Tasmat sarmatma narajan Hari sarvatra sarvada Shotavya kirtitavyascha Smartavyo bhagavan rinam. Yes.
O King, it is therefore essential that every human being hear about, glorify and remember the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, always and everywhere.
Yes, okay. So, tasmat, therefore, because the Lord is present everywhere. Or tasmat also means because this bhakti is the supermost process, most auspicious path. Sarvatmana, with full concentration of the mind, with no deviation. Rajan, Hari, Sarvatra, Sarvada. Because the Lord is present everywhere, He should be worshipped, He should be heard about, He should be glorified, He should be remembered at all times and at all places. This is the conclusion he is giving. Okay. So Prabhupada is here glorifying the process of hearing. So, okay, you can start from the beginning. Shukdev Goswami.
Srila Sukadev Goswami begins this verse with the word tasmat, or therefore, because in the previous verse he has already explained that there is no auspicious means for salvation other than the sublime process of Bhakti Yoga. The Bhakti Yoga process is practiced by the devotees in different methods like hearing, chanting, remembering, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, worshipping, praying, rendering service in love, becoming friendly, and offering all that one may possess. All 9 methods are bona fide methods, and either all of them, some of them, or even one of them can bring about the desired result for the sincere devotee. But out of all the 9 different methods, the first one, namely hearing, is the most important function in the process of Bhakti Yoga. Without hearing sufficiently and properly, no one can make any progress by any of the methods of practice. And for hearing only, all the Vedic literatures are there, compiled by authorized persons like Vyasadeva, who is the powerful incarnation of Godhead. And since it has been ascertained that the Lord is the super soul of everything, He should therefore be heard and glorified everywhere and always. That is the special duty of human being. When the human being gives up the process of hearing about the all-pervading personality of Godhead, he becomes victim to hearing rubbish transmitted by man-made machines.
Smartphones.
Machinery is not bad because through the machine one can take advantage of hearing about the Lord. But because machinery is used for ulterior purposes, it is creating a rapid degradation in the standard of human civilization. It is said here that it is incumbent upon the human beings to hear because the scriptures like Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam are made for that purpose. Living beings other than human beings have no ability to hear such Vedic literatures. If human society gives itself to the process of hearing the Vedic literatures, it will not become a victim to the impious sounds vibrated by impious men who degrade the standards of the total society. Hearing is solidified by the process of chanting. One who has perfectly heard from the perfect source becomes convinced about the all-pervading personality of Godhead and thus becomes enthusiastic in glorifying the Lord. All the great acharyas like Ramanuja, Madhva, Chaitanya, Saraswati Thakur, or even in other countries, Muhammad, Christ and others, have all extensively glorified the Lord by chanting always and in every place. Because the Lord is all-pervading, it is essential to glorify Him always and everywhere. In the process of glorifying the Lord, there should be no restriction of time and space.
Yes, okay. So Prabhupada is saying very important points. Without hearing sufficiently and properly, no one can make any progress by any method of practice. So it's quantity and quality, both. We should hear sufficiently and that too also properly. And the hearing is solidified by chanting. So our chanting, more you are hearing effectively, more our chanting will be effective. Because with hearing, we get faith. And if we do kirtan with faith, that will be very, very effective. So in fact, hearing solidifies all the processes of devotional service, all the limbs of devotional service. If hearing is good, chanting will be good, remembrance will be good, padasevanam, archanam, vandanam, everything will be more effective if our hearing is proper. So that's why Prabhupada is stressing hearing should be sufficient and proper. Okay. Pibanti bhagavatatmana satam kathamritam shraman puteshu sambritam punanti te vishaya vidushitashayam Vajanti tacharan srohorantikam. Yes, Prabhu.
Those who drink through oral reception, fully filled with the nectarian message of Lord Krishna, the beloved of the devotees, purify the polluted aim of life known as material enjoyment, and thus go back to Godhead, to the lotus feet of Him, the
So
personality
this
of
is the
Godhead.
conclusion. In fact, this is the answer to the question, what is the highest perfection? So this is the highest perfection. One should hear. Now hear how he hears. He literally drinks through the ears. Pibanti. Ye bhagvat atmana satam kathamritam shravan puteshu samritam. Full of, it's not drop by drop. Samritam. Sufficiently he hears. He drinks through the ears. What will happen? Punanti te vishaya vidushit ashayam. It will purify the aim of life which is polluted by the sense objects. And then Vajanti te charanas rohur antikam. Then the sadhak will move towards the lotus feet of the Lord. Okay. So two effects of hearing. One is, the primary is that we go back to Godhead. We get the lotus feet of the Lord. And the side effect is Punanti te vishaya vidushit ashayam. Okay. So purport, please.
The sufferings of human society are due to a polluted aim of life, namely lording it over the material resources. The more human society engages in the exploitation of undeveloped material resources for sense gratification, the more it will be entrapped by the illusory material energy of the Lord. And thus, the distress of the Lord will be intensified. Distress of the world will be intensified instead of diminished. The human necessities of life are fully supplied by the Lord in the shape of food, grains, milk, fruit, wood, stone, sugar, silk, jewels, cotton, salt, water, vegetables, etc. in sufficient quantity to feed and care for the human race of the world, as well as the living beings on each and every planet within the universe. The supply source is complete, and only a little energy by the human being is required to get his necessities into the proper channel. There is no need of machines and tools or huge steel plants for artificially creating comforts of life. Life is never made comfortable by artificial needs, but by plain living and high thinking. The highest perfectional thinking for human society is suggested here by Shukadeva Goswami, namely sufficiently hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. For men in this age of Kali, when they have lost the perfect vision of life, the Srimad Bhagavatam is a torchlight by which to see the real path. Srila Jiva Goswami Prabhupada has commented on the Kathamritam mentioned in the verse and has indicated Srimad Bhagavatam to be the nectarian message of the personality of Godhead. By sufficient hearing of Srimad Bhagavatam, the polluted aim of life, namely lording it over matter, will subside, and the people in general in all parts of the world will be able to live a peaceful life of knowledge. And Bhagavad Gita and later of Srimad Bhagavatam, one is assured herein by Srila Sukadeva Goswami that he will reach the personality of Godhead and render him transcendental loving service in the spiritual planet of the name Golok Vrindavan, which resembles a huge lotus flower. Thus, by the process of Bhakti Yoga, directly accepted as suggested in this verse, by sufficient hearing of the transcendental message of the Lord, by the material contamination is directly eliminated without once attempting to contemplate the impersonal Virat conception of the Lord. And by practicing Bhakti Yoga, if performer is not purified from the material contamination, he must be a pseudo devotee. For such an impostor, there is no remedy for being freed from material enjoyment.
Very strong statement.
This ends the Bhaktivinoda purport of the second canto, second chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam entitled The Lord in the Heart.
Very strong statement of Prabhupada. If by Bhakti Yoga we are not getting purified, that means we are not getting over the tendency of lording over, then he must be a pseudo devotee. For such an imposture, there is no remedy for being freed from material entanglement. What are your comments on hearing sufficiently? For us, how much is sufficient? Bhagavatam class is sufficient. What do you understand? Huh? Every day? 60 hours in a month, 2 hours daily. Anyone else? Any comments? Sufficient hearing.
Glass gets filled.
Yeah.
That much we should hear, and then we should preach. Once the water glass is getting filled, then it gets poured out.
So when we realize the glass is full, when we start sleeping,
We should hear as much as possible, so that where we feel that, yes, I should share this to someone else.
okay. When you feel like sharing. Okay. Anyone else?
When I feel tasty,
Yeah.
it is so tasty that I wanted to share with someone else.
Oh, I want to have more. I'd like to have from others' plate also. Yeah. If it is not so tasty, then I'll okay, take.
If you keep hearing, then taste increases.
Yeah. Yes. What should be like parameter? Okay, this is sufficient hearing. How should I know? Because you're not getting purified, Prabhupada is saying you are pseudo devotee.
Which even place in Prabhupada write in Bhagavad Gita that here till the time Krishna become dear. So that much we 11 chapter, I think 53 verse Prabhupada write this.
Which verse?
53 verse I think. 11 chapter.
So 11:53.
Bhagavad Gita.
Okay.
Yeah. Here till the time Krishna become dear.
Achha, here till Krishna becomes dear. Very nice. Yes, Sudashitan, what are your standards like? How much we can say this is sufficient hearing?
The sufficient hearing is little difficult to, as such, to define. But then, normally for somebody to maintain his consciousness while serving, while dealing with other devotees, so that is like a few hours in a day, other than Srimad Bhagavatam, because Srimad Bhagavatam generally becomes kind of routine, and then many times different devotees give from different angles, and so there is no much such kind of study, and the hearing which is done like as Prabhupada says that just don't read my books but study my books. So when hearing is done with that study point of view for our own purification, nourishment, so then such hearing will be more effective. Of course, depending on the personal situation in terms of his consciousness or Chetana going up and down. So in some cases, he will be needed more hearing. For example, somebody is very sick, then he is given more dose of medicine.
Yeah.
And otherwise, then he keeps taking some simple. So at times that may change, but keeping our consciousness very strong, so that is like, I feel that can be like a parameter.
Yeah. And if you are honestly doing introspection, and we can easily judge like how my consciousness is presently. And Prabhupada is saying that contamination is my tendency to lord over. So I should be gradually purifying myself. And if I'm not getting purified, it's a kind of a pseudo devotee. So I may not be a pseudo devotee, but I may not be hearing sufficiently, may not be following the process properly. So normally what we observe is in the Bhagavatam class, like you said, it's a kind of a routine, and the devotees are very tired also. And it's very difficult to keep oneself fully alert in Bhagavatam. And there are different speakers also. Sometimes we may not, like so much of their style of presentation, or we may not be so much inspired to hear, or we may be very tired. So that 1 hour or 50 minutes of Bhagavatam class is not sufficient. Apart from that also, we should have our own individual quota of hearing a particular topic, like that may be addressing our particular anartha which we are working upon. So that kind of individual attention we should pay to ourselves under the guidance of the seniors, so that we really, of the aim of life should be purified. Because all the problems are because of, Prabhupada is saying, because the aim of life is not purified, polluted aim of life. Even after coming and joining the ashram, if we have polluted aim of life, that will result into very confusion, that may result into confusions, comparisons, confusions, competitions unnecessarily. But if the aim of life is clear, then we may not get easily disturbed, so we may remain fixed on the goal of our life. So that's how the hearing regularly and sufficient is very, very important. Very, very important. But somehow we get so much busy in our services, we neglect reading and hearing. One morning class is there, and then we just, So like it's very good, this Bhakti Vaibhav is being arranged, so that forces us to hear whatever way. Then we write OBS, then we contemplate. So that way, such kind of courses or individual hearing, that's very important. That should be encouraged in the ashram. No? Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji,
Yeah.
like there are two extremes
Yeah.
of the pendulum. One is, some says that just Bhagavatam is sufficient, or they say that, whatever Prabhupada has given as a sandwich program or whatever, morning class, evening class, and that is sufficient. Other extreme is, some people, they go in YouTube and then it's like a big mall only. They keep hopping, jumping, and so some people, they feel that just bare necessity is okay, or some people feel that they should just go on hunting like that. So how it should be?
Yeah. That's, this is the disadvantage of the social media, that people will just keep on shopping on the YouTube. 15 minutes this lecture, 10 minutes that lecture, that I'm hearing, or the and in the garb of hearing, we should not avoid services. And I'm focusing on my hearing, then I give up doing services. So both are equally important. If I just hear, not do any practical service, so that will go into my head. It's going to make my false ego increase. So there should be perfect balance, and we should be attentive in Bhagavatam class also. And also we should take out time to, if possible, we can hear Prabhupada or we can hear some particular lecture, and then be enthusiastic in our services. Both. But just hopping around on the YouTube, hearing small clips, wasting time, that's not good. That may fill in some gaps. You have 5-10 minutes gap, that okay. You're going on the way somewhere, you can just hear that. That's not a problem. But just totally relying on that, for 2 hours I'm hearing small clips only. That's not good. That's not it. So many devotees get tapped and they waste their time on the smartphone like this. They're watching only devotional videos, but without any direction.
So I was hearing from a devotee of ISKCON, one who has read Bhagavatam thoroughly, nicely. He says in regards to sufficient hearing, at least he had a lot of taste in reading Bhagavatam. He says that at least in Bhagavatam class we should not feel sleepy. When we are not feeling sleepy, then it means that we are hearing sufficiently Bhagavatam. Another point he says that reading Prabhupada books or studying Prabhupada books in the association of devotees is also hearing from Prabhupada and devotees.
Yeah. And one very important thing, one His Holiness Bhakti Prabhupada Swami Maharaj told me, that His Holiness Bhakti Charu Maharaj, his definition of sufficient hearing, proper hearing was that if you are going for the Bhagavatam class, so one day before we should thoroughly study that verse. In fact, we should remember that verse and we should prepare as if I have to give the class. And then go to the class and hear. That is sufficient, proper hearing. And then you have understood that verse nicely. That's asking for too much, but but if you know this is the tomorrow's verse, normally when we go to the Bhagavatam class, almost half the purport is over and everything. Yes, we just sit and hear something. So we are not able to even relate what's going on. So that's not hearing. That's not hearing. If you know tomorrow's verse number, so we should read beforehand and contemplate what can be discussed, what is the episode is going on. And then we go to the class and hear, then we can relate, then it makes some impression. Otherwise, it depends on the speaker. If the speaker is charismatic, he gives some nice stories, nice jokes, we remember that only and that's all. What's going on in the Bhagavatam, that we are not able to relate that much. So, that is also very good. If you can just prepare before going for the Bhagavatam, you should take it seriously. Then that can lead to sufficient hearing. We are also preparing for hearing. Okay. So, second chapter ends. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purport of the second canto, second chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Lord in the Heart. Okay. So, in these two chapters, 4 topics have been discussed. The 2 types of yogis, their process of meditation, and how they get liberation. Right? Now, the 3rd chapter, pure devotional service, the change in the heart. Shri Shuka Uvacha Evam Etan Nigaditam Prashtavan Yadbhavan Mama Nirnamayantam Priyamananam Manusheshu Manishanam. Yes, Prabhuji, please.
Sri Sukadev Goswami said, Maharaj Parikshit, as you have inquired from me as to the duty of the intelligent man who is on the threshold of death, so I have answered you.
Yes, so I have answered you the 2 ways of liberation and the ultimately devotional service, the ultimate path. Okay, so please read the purport.
In a human society, all over the world, there are millions and billions of men and women, and almost all of them are less intelligent because they have very little knowledge of spirit soul. Almost all of them have wrong conception on life, for they identify themselves with the gross and subtle material bodies, which they are not in fact. They may be situated in different high and low positions in the estimation of human society, but one should know definitely that unless one inquires about his own self behind the body and mind, all his activities in human life are total failures. Therefore, out of thousands and thousands of men, one may inquire about his spirit self, and thus consult the revealed scriptures like Vedanta Sutras, Bhagavad Gita, and Srimad Bhagavatam. But in spite of reading and hearing such scriptures, unless one is in touch with a realized spiritual master, he cannot actually realize the real nature of the self, etc. And out of thousands and thousands of men, someone may know what Lord Sri Krishna is in fact. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that Lord Krishna, out of his causeless mercy, prepared all the Vedic literatures in the incarnation of Vyasadeva for reading by the intelligent class of men in human society, which is almost totally forgetful of the genuine relation with Krishna. Even such an intelligent class of men may be forgetful in their relationship with the Lord. The whole Bhakti Yoga process is therefore a revival of the lost relation.
Yeah, so he says, for the others, they follow the other process of yoga, Manusheshu Manishanam. But the intelligent people will follow the bhakti. Okay? And later down in the purport, Prabhupada is mentioning about that. Therefore, Manishanam meaning thoughtful is particularly used here. A Manishanam person like Maharaj Parikshit must therefore take to the lotus feet of Lord Krishna and fully engage himself in devotional service. Okay? That how. So that is what is the answer to this Parikshit Maharaj's questions. Now, there also, what are the activities of those who are not intelligent? No? Kamasya charit jnana prapadyante anya devta. So they take to the worship of other demigods. So verses 2 to 7 are describing how these different demigods are there to fulfill different desires. No? Now, different switches are there to switch on the different fans and lights. So if I want this, I approach this demigod, they will fulfill my desires. So some people think, those who are not so intelligent, not so thoughtful, they feel that all these facilities in the material world has been given by the God for enjoyment. And we should enjoy by cooperating with the demigods, by satisfying them, and then they will also satisfy us. So you can read the translations, 2 to 7 verses. Where is the mic?
Translation. One who desired to be absorbed in the impersonal Brahma Jyoti effulgence should worship the master of the Vedas, Lord Brahma or Brahaspati, the learned priest. One who desires powerful sex should worship the heavenly king Indra, and one who desires good progeny should worship the great progenitors called the Prajapatis. One who desires good fortune should worship Durga Devi, the superintendent of the material world. One desiring to be very powerful should worship fire, and one who aspires only after money should worship the Vasus. One should worship the Rudra, incarnation of Lord Shiva, if he wants to be a great hero. One who wants to large stock of grain should worship Aditi. One who desires to attain the heavenly planet should worship the sons of Aditi. One who desires a worldly kingdom should worship Vishwadeva, and one who wants to be popular with the general mass of population should worship the Sadhya demigods. One who desires a long span of life should worship the demigods known as the Ashwini Kumara. And a person desiring a strongly built body should worship the earth. One who desires stability in his post should worship the horizon and the earth combined. One who desires to be beautiful should worship the beautiful residents of the Gandharva planet. And one who desires a good wife should worship the Apsaras and the Urvashi, society girls of the heavenly kingdom. One who desires domination over others should worship Lord Brahma, the head of the universe. One who desires tangible fame should worship the personality of Godhead. And one who desires a good bank balance should worship the demigods Varuna. If one desires to be a greatly learned man, he should worship Lord Shiva. And if one desires a good marital relation, he should worship the chaste goddess Uma, the wife of Lord Shiva.
Okay. So, good ideas. Huh? So, these are the injunctions, Okay. These are the injunctions given in the scriptures. It's written, Yajet. Yajet means one should, So, but it doesn't mean that we should also worship. So in the Vedas, there are different injunctions for different sets of people. Okay? And we should see what is, as per our qualification, one should pick up the particular injunction from the scriptures. In the Vedas, there are different levels of religious practices are there. Like in Bhagavad Gita also, Krishna starts with Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga. Similarly in Vedas are so merciful, Lord is so merciful to include everyone in the house of Vedas. So anyone who has certain kind of tendencies, proclivity, he should also be included in the house of Vedas. That's why that there are different levels of religions. So no activity can be said to be pious or impious. Activity itself is not pious or impious. It depends on the qualification of the person also. You know, like in Bhagavatam, 11th canto, Uddhav Gita, 11:21 and second verse. Swasve adhikare ya nishta sa guna parikirtita viprayastu dosha syat ubhyor esha nishchaya. Steadiness in one's position is declared to be actual piety, whereas the deviation from one's position is considered impiety. In this way, the two are definitely ascertained. So what is piety? What is impiety? It doesn't depend on the work itself. It also depends on the qualification of the doer. Okay? Like Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Shreyan sav dharman vegunan paradharma sarnishtita. You know, Arjuna was saying, I'll give a fighting, I'll beg. So begging from Brahmana is glorified. By begging by Kshatriya is impious. He's not supposed to beg. You know. Krishna told Arjuna, Karmane adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. You have to perform your duty. Okay? But later in 3rd chapter, Krishna says, Yatu atmati syat atnishchay manva. For him there is nothing to do. He can give up all kinds of work. So depending on the qualification, an act can be said to be pious or impious. So depending on our consciousness, so there are recommendations in the scriptures for demigod worship also. But we should see whether it is for us or not. For devotees it is not there. Like in Mahabharata, one Parva, Markandeya Rishi is telling a story to Yudhishthira Maharaj of Dharma Vyad. No? There is a Vyad Gita. In Mahabharata there are many Gitas. One of them is Vyad Gita. So there was one Brahman, you know, he was taking bath. So after taking bath from the river, when he came out, so a bird dropped over his head, no? His stool. So Brahman was very much terrified, he got very much angry. And with angry eyes he looked at the bird. And the bird got burned. So Brahman was very happy. This is my Brahm Tej. He never realized that I had so much of power. So he was very happy. Then he went to the city for begging. So he knocked at the door. When Mataji woman came out, he asked for some bhiksha. He said, my husband is sick. Let me serve my husband. Please wait for some time. I'll bring something. He said, okay, I'll wait. But he kept on waiting for a long time. The woman didn't come out. He got very angry. I am a Brahman and she is a woman. She is supposed to serve me. How come she is not respecting me? Then after a long time, after serving her sick husband, when she came out, the Brahman looked at her very angrily. Nothing happened. The woman said, why are you looking at me so angrily? I am not that bird who will get burned. Mataji, how you are aware that, that with my Brahm Tej I have burned the bird? At those times there was no Facebook, no WhatsApp. How did you come to know? I said, if you want to know this, yes. Then please go to Mithila. There is a person called Dharma Vyad. He is a butcher. He will tell you what is the secret. So he was very much humbled. I am a Brahman. I have to go to Mithila so far to hear about religion from a butcher. But it's very curious. This lady is knowing what I have done, and she says that he also knows in Mithila. He is also updated. How he is updated what I have done here? So he says, I'll go there. So he goes to Mithila. He meets that butcher. It's a daytime. He's cutting meat. He says, seeing that Brahman, the butcher says, oh, you have been sent by that woman? She has sent you. He again gets confused. He says, yes, yes. But I want to know, how do you know all these things? He said, you have to wait till evening. I am doing my business. So in the evening, he sits down and he gives him instructions on dharma. So this one parv in Mahabharata is glorifying karma kant. If one is religiously practicing his prescribed duty, that is the dharma. You know, if the butcher is qualified for this profession, so his activity of butchering is pious. You know. Normally, the butchering is not pious, but the butcher is meant to slaughter the animals. So for him, it is pious. The lady is supposed to serve that sick husband. For her, this is the dharma. So this kind of knowledge he got from the Vyat, Dharma Vyat. So in the scriptures, there are injunctions for demigod worship. But a devotee should not fall prey to that. Okay, this is given for good health, for this and this, let me worship this. You know, for our project we need wealth, so let me worship Varun Dev. My body is weak, let me worship earth, Bhumi. No, we should not be. We should be totally focused on Avyacharani Bhakti. Okay. So Krishna says to Uddhav also that one who knows what is to be performed as per the dharma and what is not to be performed as per the dharma, and one who gives up the both, he is the topmost devotee. Sarv dharman parityajat mamekam sharanam vraja. So, depending on the qualifications, there are different kind of injunctions in the scriptures. Okay, although it is mentioning yajet, one should worship, but it is only for those kind of people who are less intelligent. Yes, Prabhu.
So regarding this incident that you were talking about, butcher Dharma Vyat, so I got a question is this, how come the butcher is prescribed to kill animals? Oh, I mean, what do you mean by that?
Because in the society, there will be some people in mode of ignorance who like to eat meat.
So they should be encouraged not to.
They should be encouraged not to, but there will be people who like eat meat. Mode of ignorance, it will be there. So for them there is certain process. So butcher will be there, will supply the meat after following certain process. He is following his dharma. He used to follow his dharma. He will not kill any animal who is pregnant, or he will take the meat only from the dead animals. There are also dharma for the butcher also. So he follows his dharma. Like Varnashram, if you see the 7th canto, so many qualifications of Shudra are given. A Shudra life will be like this. So that way, one follows his dharma and performs his prescribed duties.
Then anyone can start such a dharma then?
No, not anyone. Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavad pranitam, but is given in the scriptures.
No, I mean anybody can take that profession and call it as a legitimate.
Not anyone. Why anyone can take? As per his qualification, as per his nature.
No, butchering animals, so anyone can take that.
No, if he is in that mode of ignorance, there are Chandals also who eat meat. So they are in that level of consciousness. So Vedas are so merciful, they include everyone, so that everyone is given a chance to gradually elevate their consciousness. There are bound to be people like this.
So basically what we are telling is whoever slaughterhouses they have opened, that means they are not doing any wrong activity. That is indirectly we are telling.
No. Presently they are doing wrong activity because they are not following any injunctions. They are killing cows also. And without any injunctions, without following the Vedic injunctions. In the Vedas, meat eating is not totally denied, it is regulated.
So that means all these broilers are there, chicken and all that can be butchered by the butcher, like that?
No. By following the Vedic injunctions. It's not that I am encouraging they can be butchered or we are encouraging meat eating. No. The Vedas regulate that with the injunctions.
So for the current scenario, how it is applicable? Can you tell, like this Vanaparva of this Dharma Vyat?
Yeah.
Can it be applied in today's?
Today's there is no Varnashram. It's all hodgepodge. So today, okay, we have to follow 4 regulative principles. We should stress upon that. But to bring out a point that in that section of Mahabharata, the karma kanda is being stressed upon. If one performs his prescribed duties diligently, that is dharma. I mean, in the Shastras, there are many injunctions, then we have to understand in what context they are being said. Okay. Now, if one reads only this section of only 5-6 verses of Bhagavatam, 2 to 7, one should worship this demigod. Bhagavatam says one should worship the demigods. Why you are not doing? You know? There's one person, young boy, who wanted to join Brahmacharya ashram. So his father was also reading Bhagavatam. You know? So in the 3rd canto, Diti and Kashyap. You know? So there in the Kashyap is glorifying Diti. And he says, you're like a boat sitting on which one can cross over the ocean of material world. So he says, yes, this is Bhagavatam is required. So he called his son, this is what Prabhupada is saying. Then he took to the next section, 4 Kumaras. This is also Bhagavatam. So in Shastra, different things are given and we have to see in what perspective, what context they are being said. Okay. Clear? Yes.
Probably the confusion is occurring in his question. Probably the confusion that is occurring in his question is, actually, even though that is prescribed duty is given to specific section, everyone in the society who are at different levels are not given same destination. Like if a Chandala practicing will may become Shudra in the future after 100 lifetimes.
Yes.
So in that sense, it is not same also.
They are gradually elevated.
The gradual elevation is.
Not everyone is qualified to go back to Godhead. Not everyone is qualified to take to pure devotional service. It's a gradual elevation.
So in that sense, there is no confusion.
Yeah, in that there is no confusion. Thank you. Yes, Prabhu. For here.
Prabhuji, in first verse purport, it is mentioned that this book reading, Bhagavad and Gita, in itself is not sufficient unless one is in touch with realized spiritual master. Please.
Yeah.
How it is applicable on us? Please elaborate.
We are in touch with Srila Prabhupada. Independent study of Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam won't help us. So we are following Srila Prabhupada, following Srila Prabhupada's representatives, their representatives in the Association of Devotees. But independently, if we take to reading of scriptures, that won't be helpful.
Independent means without purports.
Without purports also. Even if purports are there, if you are not in the Association of Devotees.
Because we have heard many stories, devotees got the book. I mean, they were not devotees. And somewhere in different part of the world, they became devotees and started preaching.
Yeah, they came into devotional service. Those purports were helpful in bringing them to devotional service. But for fully realizing the purport, for fully progressing on the path of devotional service, we should read scriptures in the Association of Devotees under some supervision. It's always helpful. Otherwise, it may be misleading. You know, we may interpret their purports in our own way. You know, so those Prabhupada is so merciful by reading his, by touching his books, an ordinary person may come to devotional service. But it's not that always he should be reading the purports independently. It's always safe and secure to be in the Association of Devotees and discuss Srila Prabhupada's purports. Okay. Yeah.
Prabhuji, we hear the basic definition of dharma is to love and serve Krishna. Now, when it comes to Bhagavatam, there are 5 types of dharma mentioned. So this butcher thing, karma kanda, this also comes under dharma. That section
Varnashram.
Varnashram dharma.
Yeah.
So what are these 5 types of? Can you just connect there? 5 types of.
Which is given in 7th canto.
Yes.
I have to study that. I'm not. You know offhand. You know that.
I have this. These are 5: Vidharma, Paradharma, Abhasa, Upadharma. So these also.
I think they are Updharmas. I think.
These are Upadharmas.
I think so. They are not dharmas. Dharma, Prabhupada clearly says one is the Bhagavad Dharma, that is what you are saying, loving God. Another is to support the Bhagavad Dharma is the Varnashram Dharma. No, Varnashram Dharma is my Dharma of the body. How should I maintain my body? So that way. One.
So this butcher thing is karma kandi or varnashram dharma?
Karma Kand. So in the Varnashram, he is in the lowest ladder of the Varna, lower than the Shudra. So there are certain injunctions for him. So he is following that.
So many people, some acharyas, means not Vaishnava acharyas, they quote this story of butcher when we refer to Bhagavad Gita, karmanya vadikaraste ma phaleshu kadacha. So that time they quote this story of butcher.
Sure.
So when somebody is hearing for the first time, they take, I will take whatever dharma I can, but I will not follow what I had of Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah. So normally people say I am karma yogi. People say I'm the karma yogi. They don't know what is karma, how it is to be done. So whatever people think what I am doing is karma, good karma. That's not the meaning. Okay. Okay. So this is how this demigod worship is being given here, and this is how we should take it. It's an injunction, but not meant for us. Okay. Okay. Right. So now, 8th verse. Dharmarth uttam shlokam tantu tanvan pritan yajet raksha kama punya janan ojas kamo marudganan. Again it says tanvan pitran yajet. Yajet means one should. Okay, but again we should understand for whom it is meant. Please.
One should worship Lord Vishnu or his devotee for spiritual advancement in knowledge and for protection of heredity and advancement of a dynasty. One should worship the various demigods.
Okay, dharmarth uttam shlokam. Dharma here means the real dharma. Spiritual advancement. One should worship uttam shlokam. Okay. Next, 9th. Rajakama manundevan niritim tabhicharan jajet kama kamo jit somam akama purusham param. Yes.
One who desires domination over a kingdom or an empire should worship the Manus. One who desires victory over an enemy should worship the demons. And one who desires sense gratification should worship the moon. But one who desires nothing of material enjoyment should worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Yes. Okay. So here in the commentary, Vishnu Thakur is saying, akama means the person desiring to destroy all material desires should worship the Supreme Person. Very interesting definition of akama. No? So we should worship Supreme Personality of Godhead for getting rid of all material desires. Like yesterday he was asking, we have all kinds of material desires also. So can be active also and passive also. Active desires which we are pursuing, and passive desires for which we are pursuing, we are requesting the Lord to remove those desires from us. So akama. So we are requesting the Lord, like Prahlad Maharaj, to destroy these desires from our heart. This is akama. Okay. So if we want to destroy material desires, not pursue those material desires, we should worship Uttam Shloka. Okay. Right. Purport, please.
For a liberated person, all the enjoyments listed above are considered to be absolute useless. Only those who are conditioned by material modes of external energy are captivated by different types of material enjoyment. In other words, the transcendentalist has no material desires to be fulfilled, whereas the materialist has all types of desires to be fulfilled. The Lord has proclaimed that the materialist who desires material enjoyment and thus seek the favor of different demigods, as above mentioned, are not in control of their senses and so give themselves to nonsense. One should therefore not desire any sort of material enjoyment, being sensible enough to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The leaders of nonsensical persons are still more nonsensical because they preach openly and foolishly that one can worship any form of demigod and get the same result. This sort of preaching is not only against the teaching of Bhagavad Gita or those of the Srimad Bhagavatam, but is also foolish, just as it is foolish to claim that with the purchase of any travel ticket, one may reach to the same destination. No one can reach Bombay from Delhi by purchasing a ticket for Baroda.
Okay.
It is clearly defined here that the persons impregnated with different desires have different modes of worship. But one who has no desire for material enjoyment should worship the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. And this worshipping process is called devotional service. Pure devotional service means service to Lord without any tinge of material desires, including desire for fruity activity and empiric speculation. For fulfillment of material desires, one may worship the Supreme Lord, but the result of such worship is different, as will be explained in the next verse. Generally, the Lord does not fulfill anyone's material desires for the sense enjoyment, but He awards such benediction to worshipper of the Lord, for they ultimately come to the point of non-desiring material enjoyment.
Yeah.
The conclusion is that one must minimize the desires for material enjoyment, and for this one should worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is described here as Param, or the beyond anything material. Sripad Shankaracharya has also stated, Narayana Paro Avektat. The Supreme Lord is beyond the material encirclement.
So there is a very nice verse, very famous verse in the 5th canto. So this verse was saying those who are akama, they should worship the Lord. That means it may give the impression if we have material desires, we should worship the demigods, and as such Krishna is not powerful enough to fulfill our material desires. But Prabhupada is saying even if we have material desires, we should approach the Lord. So the denizens of the higher planets are praying this. This is 5:19:27. Satyam dishati arthitam arthito nirnam naivartha doyat punar artayata satyam vidhate bhajatam anichita ichha pidanam nijpada plavam. Please read the translation.
Translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead fulfills the material desires of devotee who approaches Him with such motives, but He does not bestow benediction upon the devotee who will cause him to demand more benediction again. However, the Lord willingly gives the devotee shelter at His own lotus feet, even though such a person does not aspire for it, and that shelter satisfies all his desires. This is the Supreme Personality's special mercy.
Satyam dishati arthitam arthito nirnam. Surely the Lord will fulfill whatever we ask for the Lord. Okay. Naiv arthadado yat punar arthita yata. But He will fulfill in such a way that the person will not ask for that benediction again. And what else the Lord does? Swayamam vidate bhajatam anichatam. Although that person does not want it, Krishna will forcefully give him his lotus feet. Nij pad plavam. I don't want it. I want BMW, but you take my lotus feet. I want 3 BHK flat in Bombay. No, you take my lotus feet. Why is doing so? The person will not be satisfied. I want this, you are giving me something else. No, still the person will be satisfied because the lotus feet are what? They have qualification of Ichhapidhanam, which covers all desirable things. Lord's lotus feet are the superset of all desires. Whatever we can think of, whatever desires we had in the past, present, or in the future, the Lord's lotus feet, Ichhapidhanam, it is a superset of all desires. Another thing Vishnu Thakur says in this commentary, by offering the lotus feet, these lotus feet have the potency to destroy all material desires. Okay, so it's very interesting commentary by Vishnu Thakur. We'll see that commentary and then we'll take a break. It's very... Okay, what's that? Yeah, this is... You can read this commentary. Who's the mic?
The practitioner of pure bhakti, even if he has desires, becomes successful. He becomes equal to the Nishkam Bhakta. Being requested by worshipper Nirnam for desired objects, Artitam, the Lord gives those objects. He does not give the object na arthadaha in such a way that object is again requested after enjoyment. What does this mean? He gives himself to those who do not desire his lotus feet, such as Dhruv. By mercy, he gives his lotus feet, which includes all desires, Ichhapi Dhanam. Or another meaning is, he forcibly, Swayam, gives his feet, which destroys all other desires. Just as a father gives the child sugar candy, though the child does not want it, and the way makes the child gives up eating dirt. So the Lord gives the devotee his lotus feet, and that way the devotee gives up material endeavors. Therefore one should worship the Lord without a mixture of jnana or karma. Tivrena bhakti yogena yajate purusham param. However, the attainment of the lotus feet of the Lord by Nishkam or Sakam bhaktas should not be considered the same in all ways. That which is pure by nature and that which is purified by force do not have the same value. Thus, the excellence of Hanuman is greater than that of Dhruva.
Understood? So those devotees who are approaching the Lord without any material desires, they are already pure, and those who are purified by force, they are at a different status. Dhruva and Hanuman are at a different status. Although Dhruva also became Nishkam by the mercy of the Lord, but still his level will remain different from that level of Hanuman. That way. And it's very encouraging verse in our preaching also, that shows that for the performance of pure devotional service, it's not required that we should get free from material desires. With material desires also, we can pursue pure devotional service. And we should have complete faith in the process of devotional service. The Lord will purify the practitioner in such a way that he will automatically give the material desires. We should not force upon this, There was one devotee who was very good in playing cricket, and he was about to be selected for the state team. So he met devotees, he got interested in Krishna consciousness also. So he moved into the base. Devotee said either Krishna consciousness or cricket. Cricket is like illicit sex. Either cricket or Krishna. He got confused. If that is the way, then I'll choose cricket only. He was so much attached to playing cricket. But he never wanted to give devotees association also. He was very confused. So he came to the temple, he met one senior devotee. Prabhuji, I have a question, desperate question. I want to play for India. So devotee immediately said, why you want to play for India? You play for Krishna and represent India. This one line shifted the whole paradigm. Okay, I can play for Krishna also. I can play cricket for Krishna also. So that gave him so much of boost. He started performing devotional service very nicely. And gradually he gave up cricket and then he got initiated also. So that means we should not discourage new people, you give up this, you give up this. We should just stress upon them, you just take to devotional service. Devotional service, the Lord is so kind, the Lord will take care. Lord will make him a karma. With whatever purpose he comes, but he should perform devotional service sincerely. There's one more devotee I know, I won't take the name. When he came along with me around 25, 27 years back. He knew Russian, okay, and his only aim of coming to ISKCON was to marry a Russian girl. He thought these Russian girls are very beautiful, so I want to marry a Russian girl. So he used to openly hang around, go to the senior devotees, Maharajas, I want to marry a Russian girl. He used to go to Vrindavan, he has a lot of money. He used to get friendly with the Russian devotees, sponsor their trips, give them feast, everything. Only purpose was getting married with Russian devotee. So some Maharaj told me, if you want to marry Russian devotee girl, you should start chanting. Chanting, then he took a bead bag. And in bead bag, he never used to chant, he used to put peanuts. And do like this. Literally, you do like this, as if it used to make sound. I will totally help, and I have to marry a Russian girl. And there are some relationship also with Russian girls. But somehow the marriage could not materialize. Again, gradually started going to Mayapur also just for looking for Russian devotees, visiting Vrindavan, got in touch with devotees, gradually starting chanting also, servicing also. And now he got initiated and he said, I will not marry, never marry. So he is still devotee, is not marrying, he doesn't want to marry also. So this is how, with whatever purpose we may come, devotional service is so powerful that it will cleanse our heart. So we should have that faith. Sometimes we may lose many good boys, good people, because we may be over fanatic, we may be stressing upon that, give up this, give up that. No. We should just encourage them to follow devotional service. The path itself will purify them. That's what it shows. Lord is so kind. Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhu. Mike.
Because when we tell to boys such kind of things, that they have also researched some amount of things, that what is the past history of people who had come with such kind of desires, and they have not got actual that thing, but in return they joined Hare Krishna or something like that had happened. So then what will be their motivation to then follow the devotional service? Because they have material desires, pure material desires. I mean, the kind of BMW or cricket or whatever. So then what will be their motivation, to then come? As Krishna says, akama sarva kamova. So if they have sarva kama, and then the scriptures tells, and so many incidences have happened in the past of people not getting that, but rather than that got Krishna's lotus feet and got purified and such kind of things.
So what will motivate them to come to Krishna?
Yeah.
No. Krishna will fulfill their material desires also. Their material desires also may be fulfilled.
So, generally I used to give example of Dhruv Maharaj.
Yeah.
Like Dhruv Maharaj is a classic case. Like he actually got also. He got purified and then he got also.
He got also, yes. He got also. So Lord may see, Lord may give that thing also, and Lord may bring that devotee to a person, to such a situation, the devotee himself say, no, I don't want. He may be so much purified. So it's between Lord and the devotees, but it's always auspicious to take to devotional service. With whatever desires we have, we should encourage the people to just, next verse we'll discuss, Tivren Bhakti Yogena. That you should follow. To what extent the desire will be fulfilled, in which manner, that is for the Lord to decide what is good for this devotee.
Well, I was just discussing this few days back only with one of the student, and he was actually telling that I want to worship Durga and such other person because he has got an ear down in his engineering, YD.
Acha.
So then he was so desperate that I must worship some demigod now.
Okay.
Sufficiently convinced that I don't want to worship Krishna. Because the history, the scripture says about so many incidences. So you're telling that demigod worship, I'll at least get this, I can easily clear some subjects and all.
No. Next verse we'll discuss. In all circumstances, one should worship Krishna. That will be the conclusion of Sukadeva Goswami. Next verse we'll be discussing. We'll discuss in detail next verse.
As you mentioned this point that Prabhuji, as mentioning that we should not discourage, but we say that okay, whatever is your wish, being a cricketer or anything, just you come to temple regularly, attend sessions, chant here. We do that, but after some time it takes some like okay, they themselves only stops that. Again they starts again after some time they starts. But like what is like, how can we understand that okay? At this point we have to say him that Prabhu, you left, again you starting. What is this? Is this like that kind of a thing to be done, or like just leave it? Let he only.
If he has left in between and again joined, then it's a very good way. He himself is coming again. That means he has some good realizations.
Again he is going back to that?
No problem. Whenever he comes back, we should ask for his realizations. We should solidify his realization. What makes you come back again? We are very happy to see you. So let him say, yes, I realize this. So when he again gets bloops, again comes back, we'll again remind him, now what is your realization now? So no problem. Our doors are always open and we should always keep on following up also with him.
Okay, following up needs to be done.
Yeah. Every soul has his own yatra. Its own speed. It's a whole relationship with Krishna. So we don't know. We may be very advanced devotee. But beginning may be like this.
Sometimes it feels very difficult, Prabhuji, that they're good boys, their things or they have a sincere desire also, but somehow or other they go in these kind of a things. It becomes like, sometimes it becomes very heavy that, Hare, kya hua bhai aapko?
Okay, because we also get attached with them. We want them to come as early as possible. But it's not, our desire may not be always fulfilled. No. Yes, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Just like you said, we should not be fanatic in certain things. As all of us mostly here are from the youth preacher or youth preaching background. So there are certain cases, being starting of the youth preaching, the result should be only the brahmachari. The focus is only to become a brahmachari. And we train the boys also in that way. And just like I will give an example, without saying the name of a devotee. I met one devotee. So he was like, brahmachari, brahmachari, brahmachari. And he was very much kind of offensive towards the grihasthas. But after a certain period of time, he changed the ashram. So I met him, then he said now he was deadly against the brahmachari ashram.
Yeah.
So how kind of, I hope you understand the question which, so how much we should not be, because of, focusing only on the brahmachari, there are many good devotees who get away from us.
Yes, yes.
So how it can be?
It's a very important point you have brought in, and we may lose many good people like this. Our society is meant, international society, for Krishna consciousness, not for Krishna brahmacharis or ashram consciousness. It's Krishna consciousness. So if we have fruity mentality in our preaching, it will always be distressful. It will give us also distress and will give others also distress. So we have to get rid of this fruity mentality that I have to make brahmacharis. So when we see a youth, we see him in saffron. we see him like this, no? Ish Sfurti. We see him on the dress of a brahmachari only. No, that's not good. So in the beginning days, we commit this mistake. But as we get mature, so we should know this is not good. This is a kind of a violence. We are superimposing our opinion on him. We are forcing him. Let it be gradual course. Let him decide himself. So that will be very nice. Such kind of people, if they join ashram, they will be steady. But if such fanatic people with fanatic preaching, fanatic people will come, they'll come and go and create more destruction, more confusion. So it may give us a short-term result, but in the long term, it's very harmful for the image of the institute also. So that's how the part of education is there. So all the youth preachers, I think the things are improving. Now people are getting more broad-minded, but initially they were too much on brahmachari, because this counselor has so many brahmacharis, I should also have so many brahmacharis. Whatever I may do, I have to make him brahmachari. So that's not good.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. See, the thought comes that somewhere I have to tell him. He will on his own not get the idea that we can become brahmachari also. And also there is internal force that I will be valued only if I make some brahmacharis. In the youth preachers, this internal competition kind of thing may be there in me, that the achievement is brahmacharis. Final goal, then only I am valuable, otherwise no. So that is also there, and then I have to tell him, this boy also. So when to tell him and what not to tell him.
We conduct camps, different camps are there, and the boys are getting serious also. Then we create different sabhas here. You must also say Gaurang Sabha, Nityan Sabha, this kind of sabhas are there. So we give them broad outlook. Whatever ashram they want to choose, they can choose. Right from the day one also we can tell them brahmachari ashram is also available for you. There is no point. It's not that brahmachari ashram should not be glorified. All the ashrams should be glorified, and how they should be followed, and we should give them the choice. Let them choose, and then we train them accordingly. If they want to go for Grasta ashram, then we put them under good young Grasta. You can train them. If they want to come for this, then we train them. We need both.
How to decide when to tell? Because I have observed sometimes, some situations, that there are wrong things happening, that boys are told so early, or they are like battered that you have to be brahmachari.
No. So that you have now, by Radheshyam Prabhu's mercy, this youth preaching is totally documented, fully documented. What camp, at what stage, what has to be done. Everything is very clear. In our times, I know, now I'm out of touch. But in our times, we used to have, after 2 years, this camp is there, then we have an ashram camp. We used to have that. We tell about the Varnashram, both ashrams are there, and let them decide. That you all must be doing it also.
Yeah.
Should not be done prematurely. But these days, brahmachari has become a status, elite figure. Among Prabhu was telling me that many advertising companies approach him for advertisements. You advertise it for our cream. Advertisement for So these days the young boys want to become brahmachari. It's a kind of a status, elite brahmachari. Even in Dwarka, one father was telling his boy, "Beta, bade hoke brahmachari banna hai, amog le ja." तब तो बहुत बड़ी अच्छी बात हो गई. Yes, last question.
Prabhuji, you were mentioning that we should not tell them to give up that things, but tell them to take up the Krishna consciousness aspect. But in that also, there are two kind of don'ts. One is forbidden, another is that it can be doubted, or gradually it will give up. So there are two devotees. One is serious in taking the Krishna consciousness and giving up the material attachment, and another is taking time to give up the material attachment. So, and also he is trying to practice his Krishna consciousness aspect. So as a their guide or mentor, so we have to see the both devotees different level, and according to that we have to guide. We have to tell them. So how to manage this thing that?
No, you're right. We have to give them both the different attentions and encourage both of them. It's not that a devotee who is presently having material attachment, he is useless. No. After few years, he may be very advanced devotee. And the devotee who is showing presently detachment, after few years, he may get too much attached. These phases come in the life. And we have seen, there was a person in college, he never used to cross beyond 2 rounds. Whole 4 years he was chanting 2 rounds only. But after 10 years when I met him, he was initiated. Could you recognize me? No, I was that person. 16 rounds, now I'm chanting. I'm initiated also. Something may happen. We don't know. Krishna is the supreme controller. Our job is, our service is to encourage to them in Krishna consciousness. We tell them the principles, whatever principles they can accept, let them accept, and then encourage them. In whatever state they are, we should encourage them. And see how they progress.
It's a continuation on this question only. That when we say that everybody has to be encouraged in a devotional service, but the encouragement may not be the same.
Yeah.
Like one example you quoted, Prabhuji, that 2 rounds devotee. Now it may not be possible for us to keep the 2 round devotee in the center. The encouragement may be different for him to give in the college. And is it like that always? Or?
Yes. No problem. He may not also move like, he also will not like to move to center. He will also say, please Prabhu, let me be where I am. Just I want this kind of, this much contact with you. Okay, this much contact.
Then in this case, what happens, Prabhuji, we also lose contact, and he also loses contact in the due course of time.
You see, it's a very dynamic situation. We should try to encourage everyone to follow the path. The point here being stressed upon is, we should not force people to give up their material desires by force. We should not force them. It's not a qualification to enter into devotional service that you should first give up your material desires. In whatever state you are, you please come and follow the process. So next verse we'll discuss more in detail what it means to be Tivrena Bhakti Yogena. We should encourage everyone to follow this. And gradually the thing they get purified. So how much we have to contact them, how much we should be there, they are not lost. There's a very dynamic situation.
When we are telling not forcing to give the material desires, so in everybody will not fit into the particular system in which we are preaching or whatever. So then we will not be able to encourage everybody in one sense.
No.
Then what is the definition of encouragement in this case?
If he likes to come to the temple, he likes to associate with devotees, he likes to dance in the kirtan, he should be encouraged. He said, you cannot come, you have material desires. I know why you are dancing. You want BMW, you want to go to Canada, that's why you are dancing. You are barred from dancing. No. Let him dance if he wants to even go to Canada. Let him dance. We should not be partial for him. He wants to join the Brahmacharya ashram. You want to go to the foreign university. Both of you cannot dance together. It's a rasabhas. No, it's not rasabhas. Let him dance. Let him honor prasad. Let him join the classes. There may be different group for him. No problem.
One scenario, Prabhuji. Say, the temple scenario is different from the way we operate the centers. The way we operate the centers, the temple scenario is different, and
campus preaching.
Campus preaching is different, and the base preaching is different. Now, let's say we encouraging the boys. Now we know that after a certain amount of time, this boy is only coming for taking prasadam. Now we cannot encourage him more further, in the sense that the wrong impression is being fed, and then he is giving the wrong image of us in the college, that this kind of things are like that. You just go and
he will give very good image. These people are so nice. They're so kind. They always give me good prasad. And we never know, after a few years he'll become very good supporter or very good devotee. We never know. We don't know. This is a wet grass. When it will become dry and it will burn like, ignite like anything. We never know. Few years back or few births back, we were also like that also. We must also be like this. This is how the Krishna consciousness starts. So why should we stop his progress? Honoring prasad is also a limb of devotional service. Let him honor that.
But the message is going pretty wrong only, in the sense that no, the whole group or whatever, that person do not want to become more fixed up.
Okay.
In our box.
Okay.
In our box.
Yeah, then it's a management thing. How to do that, that intelligence we'll have to use, but we should do in such a manner that he should not feel discriminated. We should do such an intelligent manner that he should not feel that there is a bias against me, that I have been discriminated. He should feel that even though I am not chanting, I have just come from prasad, these people are so nice, they are still so loving to me. So that system we can create. That is a default in our system, that we have only one way, come way, other get out. No, we should not have that way. No.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, question is related to previous section. Like, we should hear sufficiently and properly. Like, sometimes I hear during services also, keep hearing lectures, but hearing sufficiently is happening, but hearing properly is not happening. The quality is not proper. How to improve quality?
It's good that while serving also you are hearing. At least you are surrounded by good sound vibration. That's good. And if possible, take out, special time to hear exclusively also. You should not stop that, but try to add exclusive hearing time also. Okay. Should we break for the break? No? Okay. Hare Krishna.